Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. Hey, happy Friday. I hope you all are having a good week. I hope things haven't been too stressful for you. You've been able to get a lot of work done inside AppSheet, I hope, right? That's what we're all here for, right? So what's on the docket for this week? So I got a lot of stuff that's happened on AppSheet Insider. I've been doing a lot of work over there. We can talk about those. I'm going to go over some YouTube comments. Got some pretty good stuff in there. I'm going to go over Zapier has been making a ton of connections with AppSheet. I'm going to go over that in the weekly rundown. And a patron asked a question about how can I handle manual sorting with groups? Like, if I got the push button thing for the moving records up and down, what do I do if I need to put groups into that? All of that and more on this week's show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Do appreciate it. Let's get to it.
Make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, everyone. So we got some new stuff from AppSheet Insider that I've been working on, doing a lot of slowly but surely working on putting content over there. I pay attention to what people are looking for, like what are the questions people are asking, and instead of answering that question in like maybe a video or maybe in the comment inside of the community, wow, brain fart. Instead of doing that, I've been taking the time instead to go over to the AppSheet Insider place where I can put down like, oh, this is like step-by-step instructions on how to do something. I've been documenting them over there. So what have I got for you? I got a couple of new things that have been added in. The first one I want to talk about are some programs that I've released. So first off, I got one for data importing and then another one for how to create clickable links inside notifications. So that being an email, maybe an actual notification, a push notification, a text that you send somebody, whatever you want to do. How can I make a link in there that when somebody clicks on it, it'll take me back to my AppSheet app to say the page that I'm looking at, like the record that I'm looking at. I want to send this to this person so they can click on it and get right back to it. This totally shows you how to do that step by step. So if I just go here and I'll show you real quick the cover page. There might be a little wonkiness with the back and forth between themes. I found a thing that would allow me to automate a lot of this, and so I put in a lot of automation, and sometimes it gets a little overzealous. So you just let me know if things get a little crazy and like you can't hear me or nothing's working. Like I see it didn't turn on the background music there. Little things, we'll figure it out. Anyways, back to what we're doing here. We got data importing. So yeah, one of the biggest things that I always need to do whenever I'm building my app is how can I make it to where it's easy for somebody to start using the system, because they're going to need to bring in a boatload of information. Now I could just do that in the back end, but what if, we want to reuse this? Data importing system is what comes into play now. So this has got step-by-step instructions on what you need to do, information about like what you need to do for the parent level, what you need to do if you're trying to do parent-child things, because there's some specific things that you have to do in order to make that work that aren't straightforward at all. I got a section on here about miscellaneous things to know. This is kind of fun. But so that's basically the step-by-step thing that'll show you how to do data importing inside your system. Now, the other thing that I got is somebody was asking, how can I make a link inside, say, an email that will bring somebody right back into where they need to go? So I've got a how to create clickable links. This one is really simple, right? So it's just this hyperlink type thing right here. And there's some explanations of what each bit are, but it's actually really pretty straightforward. Oh, and I should mention each of these, all of the programs on AppSheet Insider, all of them are tied to a specific group where you can talk about that specific topic, and you know everything that's inside here, all of the questions people are going to have, all of the answers people will give, like everything is devoted to this program that you're talking about. In this case, the clickable links, right? But there's a boatload of these, and some of the programs I put behind a paywall, and so if you pay for those, you get access to the private group that they have available to them. More on that later. So what else have I been cooking up? So that's just one side of what I'm trying to do over an AppSheet Insider. Like, I want to provide like technical manuals, technical guides on this is how you do something highly specific in AppSheet. This is how I can go through and I can create a clickable link. This is how I can go through and I don't even know, whole bunch of different, anything you could think about, like all of the highly technical things that you need to know how to do. I'm trying to put a manual over there that's going to show you how to do that. So that's one side of the thing. Okay. Now the other side that I want to do is auto tables, right? Because auto tables are like magic for AppSheet. It's freaking amazing. So I'm always trying to cook up like what can I do to make things easier, if you will. And so I put out a couple of updates on some auto tables that I have. Let me clear those and open these. So the first one that I want to talk about is the data importing auto table. Okay, so it's $2. And you don't have to buy that in order to do the data importing program. In the program, I tell you how to set up all the columns if you just want to go through and do all of that. But I'm not that type of person. I don't, if I don't have to, I don't want to do it. $2 will get me a set of tables that are shoe-made for the program over there. So I got those set up over there. And then I've made some updates to the standard starting template. So if you're unfamiliar with auto tables, if you don't know anything about what they are, and you're like, I don't know about all these things, if there's one that you get, try this standard starting template. It's going to revolutionize your AppSheet building life. I guarantee it. It's got this is the evolution of every time that I ran into a problem when I was working on some production level app, and I wished that I had something that would solve that problem. There was a column that was there that I could do that would fill the hole that I just fell in. I would add that column into this standard starting template. And so the idea is that it's got a boatload of really helpful things inside there for you that you're gonna want. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today is I have a new column that I just added into that one because, well, I just found another thing that would be really helpful to have. But yeah, no, if there's one table that you get, this is the one to get. It's got metadata for who made it. It's got a whole bunch of stuff for like advanced things that you're going to want to do. I've got a bunch of metadata. It's got the helper trio, which is like, how do you manually trigger workflows? How do you also include the quick update system, temporary variables, bunch of stuff. So that being said, I've put those over there on AppSheet Insider. You can go and get them now. One of the things that I do want to touch on, the reason I wanted to touch on the standard starting template is because if you're a patron supporter of mine, you have access to that as part of your patron support. One of the things that I'm adding, and I'll distribute it to the patrons here when I'm done creating them all, is I have a whole bunch of different things that you can use that standard starting template for. Like there's a bunch of different groups of columns inside there that are for specific stuff. Like there's a change watcher column in there that's specifically in there for you to implement some specific functionality inside your app. But you got to know what to do with it, right? I also have an edit window. There's 2 columns in there that allow you to create an edit window for like quick edits or whatever you want to do. But you need to know how to use those. So I'm putting together documents, little PDF step-by-step documents that'll walk you through, this is how you do that thing for the table that you're working on. And I'm just going to package that all together inside that one thing, call it good. All right. One last little thing before I move on to, I got a whole bunch of new sample apps that I'm putting out that I just released. Links are down in the description if you want to go look at them. The one last thing I want to talk on is I've released, see, there's that automation coming in the way. I've released a, stop it. I'm gonna have to wait for this thing to finish. There we go. All right, now. All right, so I've released a new column inside the standard starting template that I'm calling automation tracking. I put it right next to the automation trigger. And the idea is it creates a list of all of the automation triggers that the record experiences, and it records a timestamp when it happened. Now it's an enum list, so eventually it will turn into something. Let me get out of this. Eventually it will turn into a list of these values. You know what I mean? Like it'll be one of these and another one and another one and another one. But each of the trigger words will be inside the little square brackets and the date when it went off. So it gives you a running history of what was triggered on this record, right? Because it's a record level thing. Because I use the manual automation trigger method where I've got a column that I call automation trigger. It's in the standard starting template. You just drop a value into that, and I have an automation that's looking for that value. So like send email, right? Like I've got a bot that's looking for the trigger word in the automation trigger column of send email. And when it sees that, fires off. First thing it does is it clears that trigger out. So this column is automatically configured to watch the automation trigger. And then anytime that thing receives something, it's like, oh, hey, look, mate, it's got a value. It grabs that and puts a timestamp and it holds it in this list. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to create any actions. You don't have to do nothing. The column just does it. Magic. I love it. That is the standard starting template's new column, automation tracking. Check it out today. All right, the last thing I want to talk about in this little front section here is I've got a boatload of new sample apps that I've put out. Like I said, links are down in the description. So let's get into the first one here. The first one is geocoding with an app script. So, hold on, don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. So, AppSheet recently released the ability to call an app script and then wait for it to return a value. And then you can do something with the value. So I thought that this would be a perfect way to test that sort of call and response in a easy way, but also in something that like everybody that works with geo coordinates eventually needs to figure out how to do. And that's how can I take an address and turn it into a lat long? Or how can I turn a lat long into an address? So there's obviously a whole bunch of ways you can do that. But scripts are stupid easy, especially that one. It's like, oh my God, really easy. So I made a sample app that goes through what you need to do in order to do that. It's got all the little bits and pieces on the inside. But the idea with the app is, let me get to the actual thing. The idea with the app is I can either submit an address or a lat long, and then when I save this, it will correspondingly do whatever it needs to do to give me the other side of the equation. Do you follow what I mean? This little button right here, you can click that and it will take you to the script. I'm in incognito, so you have to log in to see it, but that'll take you to the script that I've used. It's just a quick way if you want to grab it here, you don't want to go into the app to get it, you can just get it right there. Otherwise, if you look under the hood, you can just go to that automation, and in there, that's where you're going to find the actual thing that it does. So you can see I have two separate ones. I separated them to keep it easy. But this is the guy, and then you could be right here. Do you click this? I'm not sure what that would, I think, well, let me try it. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it's gonna make me sign in to look at it again. But you can see how this works. So this calls a script. It calls this geocoding one. Inside that geocoding one, there's two of them, lat long to address, address to lat long. So I'm calling that one. I'm passing it the lat long. I said I need to wait for something, and I'm getting a string back, and the specific thing I'm getting is an address. And so then this becomes the value that I need to get. And so down here, I say, oh, it won't let me open it. Oh, that's too bad. Oh, that's too bad, guys. I need to look at that. Oh, there we go. So if you highlight it, drag in, you know, drag and drop across, you can highlight the whole formula in this little space since you can't open it. But so if you look here, find address is the first step. Did you know that you can dereference from previous action steps? Like this guy does a script thing and then gets a value back. And then I'm like, cool, dereference out of that, the output. And then I need to use that down here. Oh yeah, good stuff. There's lots of good stuff inside here. Yep. So anyways, that's the geocoding with AppScript sample app. Check that out. The other ones that I have all center around references. So specifically many-to-many references. There's a lot of discussion inside the community about how can I do many-to-many, and the general consensus out there, right? Even the advice that I've always given everybody is, well, you just do like an in statement where you say, select for me the opposing records where this ID is in the list that I've got on that record that says these are the other tables things. You follow what I mean? Because we're many to many. So that's what I was always giving people the advice to do. The problem that I found with that, like as I started doing, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make a sample app and I found a few holes and I was like, oh wow, I had no idea these holes were there. Holy crap. The problem that you can run into there is that, all right, so the idea with many-to-many is that I've got two tables, and then on each table, I've got like in the record, I have a field for both of them that is a list of the records on the opposing table that the thing belongs to, right? So what happens when I add something to this, I have to push it into this one. You follow what I mean? So like, I just can't say, cool, give me the ones that are in the other list. I've got to like push. So if I'm talking about like if I add something to the list, I've got to push that into the list on the other side. Like the item that I added, I need to add this item into the list over there. You follow what I mean? Like there's little holes like this that I was just like, whoa, we need to fix these. So I've put out a couple of sample apps that will allow you guys to peruse how to do these, fix the holes. I should mention the way that I'm building stuff is generally like I need things to update right now. You know what I mean? Some things I can run through automation. The problem with automation is that it's run on the server. So like I have to submit the request, I have to submit the record, then wait for it to, and then like it comes back and then I get the answer. So sometimes that sort of delay in getting the response back doesn't work. Like you can't do that. So I generally approach all of my problems from the standpoint first of how can I solve it client side? How can I create some sort of system in the app that would allow me to immediately change that data so that the person using the app like pushes the button and they see the thing change. Do you know what I mean? Because like if you use automation, it's like I push the button. Oh, hey, look, there's the thing. Oh, cool, awesome. Now it did the thing. Like I can't do that. I need it to be like that. So with that sort of approach, if you need that update on the other side like that, you've got to force that to happen. Okay, so I've got two apps that I put out about how to handle many-to-many situations. Let me get both of them open. I have one for brute force because I know a lot of people like the simple one and done. And so the brute force way is the one that we're using select, right? This one works, but it's inefficient, it's quick and dirty. It works, but it's not my favorite method of doing this. But the specific things that you've got to make sure that you pay attention to when you're doing the brute force method, like if I go and I show you, let me go here. If I go and I show you let's say the employees. Oh, yeah, so the scenario, sorry, just high level, right? Many to many. I have employees and projects. Cool. On the employees, what projects are they a part of? On the projects, what employees are a part of this project? Fair enough. That's what we're going for here. So if I go here, you can see I've got an enum list that is the assigned projects here, and this is on the employee side. And then correspondingly, on the projects, I have the assigned employees, which is an enum list. So they work both ways. So if we just focus on one of these guys, just focus on the this employee side, you may notice there's a couple other columns that I've added inside here. These were the things that, like, when I found that there was a bunch of holes when I started implementing this many-to-many using a select statement, I was like, holy crap, whoa, 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 what is going on? Okay, the hole that I found is like, okay, how can you tell the system, like, when, do this order of operations step by step slow, right? So I'm on the employee and I add a project and I remove some projects from that employee. Okay, how does and then, like, I save it. How does the system know how to do what it needs to do with the two different things that you just did? Do you follow what I mean? Like, I need to do a different thing with the things that you've added to the list than the thing that I need to do with the things that you've removed from the list. Like, I need to do different actions with those, specifically, if we're talking, like, you know, action-wise. Like, okay, so I need to know, what did you add and what did you remove? So that's what I did over here on these columns over here. In each of these tables, there's the main enum list that holds, this is what this person is assigned, right? And if I just go into the settings for it really quick, you can see it's an enum list with a base type reference to the project table with a validity of, give me all of the projects and order them by state and then by address. So it's just a master list of everything. That gives you the ability to go in, if I show you over here, it gives you the ability to say, go into Andros here, and I can come inside and I've got this list of projects. So now I can select something to add to the list. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, okay, what if I come into this screen like this and I say, okay, we're done with those two, but we're moving to Florida. Okay, so when I save this record, the system has to remove the employee from the two that I removed and then add the employee to all of the ones that I clicked to add. The columns that I do then is over here inside the table, right? I have one that holds what was removed, one that holds what was added. And if I show you the formulas for these, the one that was removed, okay, so all you do is I look up, you could probably get away with this row before. I've been told that this works. A lot of times when I try that, it doesn't work, so I generally avoid it. But you can probably get away with that. But the idea is, if I look up the old value, right? So the old value that's stored inside the database, okay, that value over there hasn't changed. So I'm in the form, right? And maybe I changed the value there, but I haven't saved anything yet. So that value that's still back there in the database is still the original value. So if I look that value up, I can get, well, what was it originally before you changed it? So that's kind of like the original method for this row before. You might be able to just do this row before. I'll play with it and I'm going to test that robustly and see if I can break it and to see where that breaks, and I'll let you all know. But this is the idea, is that you just go to, you look up this previous value and you say, what are the assigned projects, right? And I split that into a list because you have to do that. And then I subtract from it, what is the current value? So take the old minus the new, and that gets me anything that you've removed. And then for the added ones, it's just the other way around. I take the new list and I subtract the old one, and that gets me anything that you've added to the list. So now that I've got both of those individual lists separated like that, now it's really easy for me to say, cool, for that one list, add them to stuff. For that other list, remove them from stuff. And now it's just a matter of implementing the actions in the background for, like, when I save the employee record, it needs to go and do all of the stuff. And that you can find all inside this AppSheet app. Peruse it to your heart's content. If you have any questions about it, I can always dive in more, but I'm going to move on. We're already about halfway through. The other way that you can do many-to-many refs, right, is through a join table. But you run into the same problem where if I add somebody to the list, I need to add them to the list over there, right? You got to maintain the lists on both sides. And so the method in which you go about that maintaining of the lists is different, because the source of the list when I'm doing a join table is different than the source of the list if I'm doing the brute force method, right? So this one will show you how you can, I already had it open. This one will show you how you can set up a many-to-many using a join table, right? And so the idea with this guy is I've got same scenario, employees and projects, but this one is I have an employee project assignment record that says this employee, this project. And the idea then is whenever I save the field, right? So I have this, what is the enum list of what are the projects for the employee? When I save that, okay, anything that I've added to that, go through and make a record in the assignments. And then on that assignment, update the corresponding projects, because I need to push the user that was just added to that project into that project's list. So it's almost the same process of what's going on in the other one. It's just a little different with the mechanics of how you're doing it. You can see in this one, we don't have to have what was added and what was removed. Like, we don't need to keep track of that if we're doing a join table, because it's all in the join table. We actually have when we save the record, we actually already have that value of what's different. Because if you think about it, if no actions or anything kick off, right? When I save that, then I've got an enum list on the parent that says this guy's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Of things that is connected to. And then I've got some join records below. But if I don't do anything to create, like if I added 5 to the list and I don't do anything to create that, well, then the list that's down there is just 1, 2, 3, 4. And so there you go. There's your list of, well, what's different. Right? So you don't have to store it somewhere when you're doing it that way, because it's in the records. I personally find the join method better. It's easier. There's less holes to fall in. But yeah, all of the nitty-gritty details of what you need to do for all of you can see there's a whole bunch of actions involved in making all this work. Everything that you need to do in order to make this work, there is a bunch of stuff that you can do. Bunch of actions you got to make in order to smooth it out and get it all on the sample apps. All right, that is everything that I've got for that. There was a lot of really good comments inside on YouTube, specifically with the last week's episode where I had Steve Coyle on. So let's dive into some of those. Oh, all right. We just kind of cut right over to me, huh? All right. There's some of that weirdness. Yep. So what have we going on here? The first one that I wanted to kind of touch on here is from Ferret, Jack Ferret. This is talking about the meeting, the video I had with Steve. Jack Ferret says, I started working in AppSheet in 2020, coincidentally after an essential feature was released. I'm curious what that was. Automation, maybe? Since then, I have over 4,000 hours in AppSheet. Wow, you're actually keeping track like that. That's crazy. And my career orbits around it. I never had to ask 100 questions or more because you guys already answered them for me. Thanks for all the hard work and making the magic of AppSheet something I could understand and build in. Well, Jack, you are quite welcome, my friend. It's a joy to help you guys. I was just talking to someone earlier, and it's really kind of a selfish thing because on my part, because I'm helping you, and then it feels really good to help somebody past the roadblock that they're in. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just banging their head against the wall. They're about to rage quit. They're going to shove their computer. They're just going to go nuts. And then I can come in and be like, takes me 2, 3, 5 minutes to just be like, oh, no, cool, mate. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're done. And they're off to the races. The feeling that someone gets from helping somebody over that, anybody who's helped somebody like that knows. Check it out. Try it in the community. Okay, one of the videos that I released for my Patreon supporters was I was doing when I was when I was building some of those sample apps for the many-to-many, I needed to implement some looping things, some action loops. And so I streamed myself doing that for my patron supporters so that they could see it. And there's a couple of questions that came out of that. David says, I guess maybe just this first one down here. He says, great video. I didn't quite understand the formula. Maybe I'm not clear about what the columns are. So the formula was let me zoom in here. The formula was employee assigned project, should be an S at the end of that, minus the created project assignments. Okay, so the idea with that, missing the S at the end of the employee assigned projects really is misleading. Yeah, I can see that. I'll go through and make that change. The idea is if we go, do I have that sample app still open? If we go back to the sample app and we look under the hood, you can see what I'm talking about here is, so the formula that we're talking about specifically here is what you do in order to tell, well, what still needs to be done? Like what, okay, this is not the brute force one. I need the join table one. That's it. Because the join table is the one that has all of the loops inside there. Because when you save an employee record, and now I've got a list of stuff that you need to do, I need to loop through all of those things and create a record or delete a record or do what. And so in the loop ones, right? So if we just go here, we're like, this is the employee project loop. So this is the part that actually makes the record for the loop. If I go in here, this is what you were looking. Oh, look, so it does have the S on it now. Yay. Or is it the other way? Employee assigned project, employee assigned projects. Okay, I did put the S on there. Whew, awesome. See, you caught it when it didn't have the S. My bad, bro. I'm sorry. But the idea is I've got this employee assigned projects, which is an enum list on the actual table. So like these are the physical columns, and then these are the virtual columns, right? So I've got this column here that's a physical column where I'm actually selecting, these are the employees that I want to be assigned, or these are the projects that I want this employee to be a part of. And then from that, I'm then kicking off a loop that says, all right, cool. Take all of those options and make all of the child records over there. So I got to know, what do I need to make and what shouldn't I make? That's what that formula is accomplishing, is it's saying, take the original thing minus the created project assignments. Okay, created project assignments is a derivative column. This is something that you get by the list dereference formula. And the idea is that hold on. Okay. The idea is that you utilize, let me go back to employees. Let me stay on the same page. So on the list dereference, right? So the idea is I'm creating a whole bunch of child records for the that correspond to the, damn it, there we go. I'm trying to get back over here. So the idea is you create a bunch of child records that correspond to the joining of this employee. So I had this list of projects, I loop through them, and I create all of these project assignments, which is the employee project assignments table, right? And so what I'm saying is, out of that, I need to know what are the projects. Because if you think about this column by itself, this one is the list of the join records. So it's the IDs of the join records. It's not the actual data inside the table, inside the records. It's the records themselves. I don't need that. I need to know what are the projects in those join records, right? So I've got to extract that out, and that's what you do with a list dereference. And we go here. That's what this does. It says, cool, for all of the related employee project assignments, give me the corresponding project links. And this formula itself makes a list of all of the projects. And so then I can just say, cool, so this is a list of projects. So if I show you, right, this is a list of reference to the projects. And then this one is an enum list of references to the projects. Almost the same thing. It's just one's physical, one's virtual. One you can edit, one you can't. But they're both a reference to the project. It's a list of project references. And so then I can just say, go back to my behavior that I got open. So I can just say, take that master list and subtract from it all of the created projects. And that gives me what's left. What do I still need to create? And so when I do that sort of math like that, if there's still something inside that list, then that means that I still need to make something. And that's why the loop keeps going, and eventually it'll stop. Because like if we just start from scratch, right? Let's say I create a new employee and I say, cool, add 5 projects to this guy. Okay, when we first save that record, before anything happens, I've got this employee assigned project here. Here we go, this one, right? This first list is holding 5 values. This bottom list is holding nothing. And so then it's like, oh, there's something there. And so then it loops through and it creates the first one. But then I've still got 4 things, right? So then, and eventually this list minus this list equals nothing. And then this becomes blank and the whole thing stops. Looping is notoriously kind of difficult to make sure that you get right. It's really easy to fall into a infinite loop. That's, really easy to do. The newest method that I've kind of come up with for looping, though, kind of eliminates a lot of that, though. So I'm going to put out a video, like another looping video that shows this newer method that I've kind of come up with. It's really an order of operations thing. If you do it in the right order, it makes looping super easy. But yeah, that is the thing behind that. If we go back here and we look at what is Carlos Loli. Oh, Carlos, yeah, so when in the middle of the part 5 of the shopping cart build, I was trying to populate some data inside a Google Sheet, and Google Sheets really isn't my thing anymore. Like I've been using AppSheet for so long, I've kind of forgotten how to do a lot of stuff over there. I really do appreciate the reminder here. Carlos is telling me that the only thing I had to do was add one more thing to my lookup and it would have worked. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? I wish I would have known that. It would have been great. But anyways, let's see what else. So, okay. So Thomas, this was a good one that I wanted to touch on. So, he's talking about go over here, the report table build. And what he's wondering is, it would be really good if I could do a video on how can I modify a template to include groups. So that like when I'm printing the PDF itself, when I'm like, I've got the main report and then I've got like the line items that I want to print. How can I group the line items so that it's like category 1 and then all category 1, then category 2, you know what I mean? How can I do that? It's pretty straightforward. All right. Maybe it's straightforward, but it's like all things in AppSheet, you know, it's like 50 steps that you got to do in the right order, and if you don't do them that way, it's not going to work, right? But I'm adding that to the list. There was a few other comments in there that also touched on expanding from the report building table or the enhanced dashboard. I've got a lot of requests for how can I modify that enhanced dashboard? Can I add other tables to it? How could I take the results and push it into the report table? How could I just download, like could I put an action directly on my enhanced dashboard? Like I got a table that says stuff. How can I download that directly from there? All of those I'm going to answer in future videos where, just like the shopping cart where I did like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, I'm going to do that for the report table and for the enhanced dashboard. So if you have anything that you want to see in that to be added to either the enhanced dashboard sample app or the report table sample app, and whatever you'd like to see that evolve into, let me know in the comments below. All right, everybody, let's move on to the next section. We just did that one. we're gonna move on. The next section I'm going to talk about is AppSheet news. So there hasn't really been very much news in regards to AppSheet itself. It's kind of quiet. There was, we can just go jump into it here. There was the monthly Roundup that they released in the community. This is a nice little thing that they do every month where they go through and they pick out all of the posts of note, if you will. Like, oh, here's a really good tip. Here's a really good discussion. They highlight people that have been submitting a lot of answers and things of this nature. It's a really nice little thing. Go check it out. One of the things that I wanted to talk about there is that there was an awesome tip by, I still can't pronounce your name, Ferret Gujar. Sorry, bro. About how to create, check this out. This is really cool. About how to create this sort of like nested hierarchy thing inside a table. If we go up here, it doesn't say what it was. How to create a hierarchy view using views, such as the thing below. I really like this. This is really, really clean. You know what I mean? Like, top notch, mate. That's what I'm talking about. The other things, so congrats to you for that. The other thing of note in the community that I want to touch on is that they have given us the ability to, you might have seen this, they've given us the ability to quote things inside the community. Now, I've started using this when they released this. When I found it, I was like, oh, thank you so much. So helpful. Basically, if you're in the community, you can highlight somebody else's text that they put out and hit the little quote button, and it will automatically drop that inside whatever you're typing, right? Or if you're not typing one, it'll create the new one. Really, really easy way to get context, because a lot of times people are asking highly specific things, or they want like a follow-up, like somebody gives an answer and they're like, hey, can we get more info about this? Being able to drop a quote to the individual like line that you're talking about removes any kind of confusion that anybody would have. So kudos to the team for that. There was a transient issue on mobile devices. If you, they were rendering views oddly. They don't have a photo of it. I was hoping they would. But like if you were experiencing difficulties with using your app on your device, it was because there was some weirdness that was involved. They've kind of cleaned that up. Obviously, if you encounter any kind of problems, let everybody know on this, on that post there. Now, the real thing that I was going to talk about today is Zapier. Holy crap! So I have a Google alert set up for just AppSheet, right? So like anytime there's something with AppSheet, I get a little email that says, hey, this is the thing that just came out. And like every day this week, I've been getting something that's like a new Zapier page that's been put on the internet, where Zapier is now connected to Stripe. Zapier is connected to Calendly. And these are not Zapier's connected to, but I'm sorry, that AppSheet through Zapier is directly connected to Stripe now, to Calendly, to a boatload of others. Like I did 2 of them, and then like they kept coming in, and I'm like, never mind, I'm just gonna say there's a whole bunch. Check it out. Like, it's really cool. So if you're looking to create any kind of advanced sort of systems where maybe you need to do payments, maybe you want to do scheduling, if you don't want to do the route of I'm going to make the scripts myself, and if you don't want to do that, you just kind of want to one and done it, go on over to Zapier and check that out. They make this sort of stuff really easy. This Stripe integration I was looking at, I'm probably going to put that inside my TT IOTA, just because I don't want to take the time to do all of the Stripe API stuff right now. I just want to get something that would work. And so, like, I'm going to use Zapier for a while to get that to work. Eventually, I'll sit down and figure out the scripts that I got to do and make it work that way. But the Zapier thing will at least let me get in the door and get working. You know what I mean? But anyways, bunch of new releases over there on Zapier. Check it out if that's a thing that you're into. One of the last little things in here is there is a really good post that somebody has made, a really good request. And that's for, let me get it up here. There you go. And that's for a drag and drop sorting. Like, I don't think anybody is, I'm sure somebody at some point has asked for this, right? I had to have, surely somebody had to have asked for this. But yeah, man, this is something that we all need. I mean, just imagine, like, you've got a deck view, right? Wouldn't it be great to be able to like long press and then move that up to where you want to put it? Same thing for a table, same thing for a gallery. Like I can grab a gallery thing and drag it over and drop it into the, really what we're talking about is the ability to modify the row number, right? Like we can't do that through AppSheet. It's never been possible for us to change the row number. That's kind of essentially what we're looking for, right? But it's not just the one row number. Like if you've implemented the manual sorting system, you'll know it's not as straightforward as just changing the one number. You've got to change the other number on the other side of where it's going. Or if you're like removing it, you've got to change all the numbers, right? Or if you're adding something, you've got to change everything below. It's not just that straightforward, but this request needs some love. So I'll post a link to this in the description after the stream here. Head on over to it, give this thing some love. Look, man, look how lonely this is. Like that's my vote. Come on, man, we need to get more votes on this right now. It'd be really cool to see, like, but head on over to this stream, to this thing right here. In fact, what I'll do, hey guys, hey, thanks for coming to the stream, y'all. Mucho appreciated. I really do. Okay, I got a question. I will get to the questions. Submit any other questions that you got. I'll get to them at the end of the stream. All right, so that's the feature request. AppSheet's got some other stuff. Oh, there was a bug fix for input. I don't know if you use input. That's the last thing I'll touch on in this topic, in this segment. If you use input, there was a bug where like the input pop-up, if you had tabs for the page that was for the field that you were doing the input on, it would show the tabs, and it should, especially if there's just one page, right? So if you were seeing stuff like that, they fixed that. Should be good to go. All right, next thing that I'm going to move on to is I got a whole bunch of really good questions from my Patreon supporters. Let's go over those now. Okay, there we go. That was weird. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is somebody asked, how can I email something to multiple people? Specifically, we're talking about like the report table. Like how, like if I have the report, if I've taken the report table sample app, right now, like if I've taken that idea and I've implemented it in my app, how can I send that report to some people? Obviously, we're going to have to use automation for that, right? I put the pieces in place for this. If you check out the sample app itself, right? So I've got this field for a report email list. So really, all you've got to do is fill this with emails and then make a bot over here that would basically say like send email, right? And like this would be like a new report. And of course, I'd want to nuance the crap out of this, not just creating a new report record. I'd probably put some kind of trigger inside the automation trigger where it's like this equals send email. Do you know what I mean? Like I would do something like this, and then inside the step, it would be like actually send the email. And this would be the place where I would actually do the thing that I need to do, right? And so, right, send an email, and then I'd always probably do this. I never do the embedded thing. Yep, this, right, this to field. You just do this guy like this. Where's it at? Report email list. You just drop that field because it's a list of emails here. All right, there we go. We're good to go. And then it's just a matter of like cleaning things up, right? Making it look nicer. If you want to pass on the actual attachment, okay, so you wouldn't go, like if you want to, we're passing the file, right? So you wouldn't go this route. because we've already made the file. So I don't need this automation thing to remake the file. That's not what I need to happen. So when you're inside the settings like this, you come down here, you could use a body template if you wanted to do a template for the email, right? Separate from things. But in the attachment settings, leave all of this stuff empty. All of this, all of that, leave it all empty. And you come all the way down here, way down here to the bottom. And it's this space right here. This is the place where you can tell the system, cool, I already have some files, a PDF, a CSV, an image, whatever. I've already got something somewhere inside my system, and I need you to go get it and just drop it inside here as an attachment. That's what this thing does down here, and that's where you've got to put in. So if you click the add, you see it just gives you a free space for you to enter in the path to a file. This is really simple. You've already got that inside this system. So if I go to this make or update action, this make or update bot. So this is the thing that's actually making the file. If I go to the actual make file step, and I go to, here we go, to the folder path and the folder file name. Okay, these two things combined together is the folder path file name thing that I need to drop over there. And actually, you've already got that combined together in this little guy right here, set file link. Here, if you look inside, that is the formula that I need to use. So I can just copy this, right? And go to, I just realized there's a far easier way to do this. Go back to your attachment settings. Go all the way down to the bottom. Go to this guy. Turn it to a formula, right? So then you can go into this formula space. The easier way to do this would be just in your column list. I have a field that is the file itself. I can just drop that here. That's the far easier way to do all of this. Yeah, man. And then when I send this, when this email goes out, it's going to send this to all of the people inside this list with, you know, whatever stuff that I put here, and it's going to have that file as an attachment. Okay, so this is how you can send your email. You can send your report file as like one giant mass email, right? So like that's me saying, cool, one email, all these people. Sometimes that's not what you want. Like if I'm going to do something that's like, say I was to create a system that was like an emailer, right? And I'm going to like collect all of your emails and then I could send you whatever, right? Okay, well, I wouldn't want to send that like a marketing thing to everybody. That's not what we need to do. I want to send them one by one. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, in order to manage a system like that, you got to change how you're doing it. You can't do it this way, right? You've got to fundamentally do it a different way. It triggers from this, right? So when I do the report and it's got the trigger, cool, that same thing. But the way it goes about it is I instead need to loop through. Loop is the wrong word to use because we're in automation, but like I need to go through all of the emails and send each person their own email that is the thing that I'm trying to send out, right? Okay, how do I do that? Okay, so in the event settings here, this guy right here, this top part, I have to change what's going on over here. So, excuse me, on the report. Yeah, okay, so I have to fundamentally change the entire way that I'm doing this. So like right now, I'm triggering this on the report. What I really need to do is I need to change the system to where when I save the report form, where I've also added emails into that email list, now what I need to do is I need to flag each of those persons and then do an event for them. So like the way I would do this is we get back to here. We go to here. This is probably gonna keep, yep. Here we go, all right, now we're back. It's like a little loop around all the other cameras I have. It just kind of goes automatically. But, okay, so, like inside, let me go for my report, right? So in here, got this list of everybody that's included in the email. So what I would need to do is I would need to, in the user table, I don't have the field included, so I would have to add it. So I won't do it right now because it's sync time and all of this stuff, you know what I mean? But what I would need to do is I would need to add a column inside here. We do have an extra filter. I would need to add an extra column inside here for an automation trigger. Yep, I'm just gonna take that over. Yep, all right, so now I've got this automation trigger. Cool, it's a hidden and it's a text on the user table. So the idea that I need to do is that when I save this report form and I put some people inside here, right? I need to then mark all of those people. All right, well, instead of this being an email list, it would be much easier on the system if this was a list of the users instead. So it was the IDs of the people I need to mess with. So I'm going to change that. So like here on the table settings for the report email list, right? So if we go to this, I still need it to be an enum list, but the base type, not an email. It needs to be a reference to the users. And then I need to build a statement inside here to give me the list of all of the users. So like I'm going to drop the users and the user ID. Like so. Wait for it. Yes. So now, you see it changed to that now. And if I save this, so it propagates. When it comes back, now we've got a list of all the people. And so now I can select this, and the actual value that's stored back there is going to be the IDs of the people that I need to do something with, right? So that makes it easier to do some of the other parts of what I need to do. If I didn't do that, I'd need to do some kind of like select statement where I'm saying, cool, look up all the user records, give me the IDs where the email equals the emails in the list. I don't want to do that. Or where the email is in the list, right? I don't want to do that. I'd rather just be like, cool, here's the list of stuff you got to go with. Rock that. So now that I got this list of IDs of users, right? Okay, so then the idea is when I save this form, so this report form down here, when I save this, I need it to do something to all of the users that I just selected. Okay, so first I need the thing that I want to happen, right? So I want to add a trigger word inside the user's automation trigger thing because I'm going to use that to then send an email for that user. So a new action on the users that sets, oh, it's probably not editable. Yep, that sets that field. Sets the automation trigger to send email. All right. Now I'm going to like shrink this and hide it because we don't need to see it. I'm going to call it set user auto trig send email. Right? That's the idea. So now this is like a system action that I just needed for the system to use. So next, I now need the ref action that executes off of the report that says, okay, on the report, I have a list of users. For those lists of users, do this action. So that is one of the, where is it? Execute an action on a set of rows. And so this, from the reports on the users, for my list of users, I need to run that action I just made to set the auto trigger. So this would be ref set user auto trig send email. All right. Don't need to see it. Don't need to see it. The condition though does need to be something. It needs to be if this, come on. I need my column list. Okay, whatever. There we go. Come on. If the user is inside that, well, I guess that's on the other side. Never mind. Yeah, we don't need to do that. Never mind. This one, sorry. I was getting a little confused with my context of where I was putting formulas and things. No, this one is I only need this to run if is not blank. The email list. Yeah, so if I put some people in that list, I need this thing to kick off. And that thing needs to say, cool, for all of those people, go to the, here we go, go to the user table and set that person's automation trigger to send email, right? So now the idea is I go to the report, do my report, add in the people that I want to get the report, save the form. And then I need to kick off that ref action in that form save event. And then what happens then is that for all of the users that were selected, that automation trigger is put in that field on the user side. So now I need to make a corresponding action on the corresponding automation on the user side of things that says, okay, when you see send email in the automation trigger column, send an email. All right, so how do we do that? And specifically, how do we send the right one? Yeah. Okay, so easiest way. Let's find it. Easiest way. Okay, so this is the thing that does that. So if we go to automation, let's just start creating the stuff that we need. Okay, so I'm going to delete this guy so we can just start fresh. So this needs to be on the user table, right? So user let's call this send email to user, right? Okay. And the event is user triggered. The user is triggered. Sorry, bro. All right. Updates on the user table where bear with me, automation trigger equals send email. That same trigger word that I threw. The real thing that I should do is not type it in. Like I should come back here, go to the action, copy this. You know what I mean? Like copy that and then go back to my automation and then go in here and then paste that there to make sure I get the perfect string. Because you wouldn't believe how many times I've pasted the wrong thing inside a string like that and then spent an hour or so or more hours trying to figure out why the thing wasn't working. Well, it wasn't working because, well, when I typed it in, I didn't put the space. Should have just copied it. So here we are. Now this is going to trigger off whenever I set that trigger word inside the trigger for the user. Now the thing I got to do is I need to send the report. So first thing, send report, right? So this is where I'm doing an email, where the to is we go inside here. So we're on the user table. I need to send it to this user, just like that. You can modify this, you can modify that. We're really worried about this attachment thing down here, all the way down at the bottom, right? How can I get the report that I just triggered off into this, even though that report has nothing to do with this user or any of the users? Like there's no actual connection to that. How do I make this work? This is where global variables come into play. You'll love this. So it's an order of operations thing, right? So the idea is from the report, I'm going to trigger these emails to go off, right? Okay, so what I can do then is I can work with the idea of when, let me get back here. Here we go. Let me get to the report. Okay, here we are. I can work with the idea of like when I save this form, right? I can put a temporary variable on this form, on this record itself, and then I can hold that record inside of a slice. And I can just hold it there for 30 seconds, whatever, doesn't matter. You could probably come up with some way to indicate to the system that it's done marking all of the employees and then like expire it, but I'll just throw it on like I think 5 minutes is the smallest timer that you can have in automation. So like, I'm just going to set it to that, call it good, done. But the idea, right, is that I was just thinking about, another way that I could do this is I could not use automation and just do it all through actions. I'm always trying to do things client side. You know what I mean? Like I'm always trying to get it straight to the user right away. So like I have this, if we go back here on the user, I have this field where I say send the email. Okay. Well, the thing that I could do is, right, we're talking about an order of operations here. So when I save this user form, I have all of these people selected. Okay. And so then the idea would be first mark this report as we need to process this. Second, mark all of the users. Third, unmark the report. And then send, and then the marking of the users happens at a state when the report is in that flagged status. So I can hold it in a global variable. So in order of operations, it's usually the solution is more steps involved with what you're doing. So if I go here and I say, so, all right, let me get my mind right here. On the reports, when I save this, all right, I have an automation trigger field, so I need another field in this table. So I am just going to add this in really fast. On the report, I need another space. See, this is where I'm just going to call it form type, because people will recognize these as part of the helper trio. Like if I would have just had that as part of this, if I'd have just used the standard starting template, I would already have this space that I need, and we could just move on. This isn't why you just use the template. Okay. On reports, give me the new column, right? So all that field, the only thing that I'm using that field for is it's just a space for me to hold something that I need. I'm going to use that to hold. This is the report. Oh, I put it in the wrong table. Not here on the user table. Well, I guess I have 2 extra fields. My bad. Trying to do 5 things at once. My bad, y'all. All right, so I'm just gonna leave it there on the user table. I'm gonna take this and move that here so I know that that's a thing I'm using, and I'm gonna call this one a little out of order, but oh well, whatever. Who cares? The idea, I just need that space so that I can hold a piece of data in that, make it visible and make it editable. Okay, so the idea then is that I'm going to flag the report, flag the users, and inside the form type, I'm going to mark this is the report that you need to send. That way the user record itself contains 2 pieces of data when I'm going to send the email off. One, the trigger word that says, hey mate, you need to send an email. You could probably get rid of that by just dropping the trigger inside, anyways, whatever. And then another one that's holding, this is the thing you need to send. I'm liking that better than trying to do just all in one. Like, I'm never really a fan of like, oh, let's just do all in one, quick, dirty, one and done. Like, that's usually never the solution. It'll probably work, but it's probably not the robust way of doing it. Having the 2, that gives you that space where like I can hold one thing and then do something else too. So back here, what do I want to do? What I'm saying is go back to my action stacks. So on the report, it's this. Okay, first I need to trigger this guy with a value. So a whole bunch of different ways you could do that. I just have one little thing. I'm just going to do it with a push button. Quick and dirty. Call it good. Sorry. Thanks for sticking with me for this stream for so long, y'all. Let's see. So I'm setting the report automation trigger to mark users, right? Okay. I'm going to copy that value because now I'm going to like create a subset of these reports that match this value. So do that really quick. Go to slices for reports where the automation trigger equals what I have on my clipboard, mark users. So this is going to hold that one report, mark users report. All right, this is the report that I need to send. And then I come back here. All right, so this marks the report that I need to process it. So set auto trigger mark users. This is the report auto trigger mark users. Yep. I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. There's a whole bunch of ways that I would smooth over how to do all of this so that it's just done, done, done. I'll make a video on how to do all of that officially. I just kind of want to get this out in this video so I can show you what this looks like, right? So that I have this whole string and you can see what it looks like at the end. So I'm just going to make it real quick and dirty. Don't copy me. Don't do this. This is not how you should do things. You should make it smooth, but I'm just going to make it work. So this is going to set the flag to mark the users, right? Okay. That, I don't need to see that. Hold on. I don't need to see this guy. That sets that. That will hold the users. So then the idea is I need on the report table a stack. So this would be save reports, right? And so the idea is this is one of those execute stack action. The first thing I need to do is like set the report auto trigger to mark users. That holds that into the slice. Then I need to ref set all of those to send the report. Then I need to clear the trigger. Or no, then, yeah. Then I need to clear the trigger. Yep. I already have that one made. There we go. Now this, yeah, if I execute this stack in the save event for the report, if I go here, I go to the report form and I say, do my save stack when I do this. Every time I save this, it's going to mark this as the people I need to process. We'll throw a little intelligence on there then. The only time that I want it to do this is not blank email list. If I've got a list of people, process it. Otherwise, leave it alone. Don't do this. So this is going to kick off when I save the report, and it's going to mark this report, hold it in that global variable, and then mark all of the users. So I need to grab that global variable and drop it into the user when I set that workflow trigger to go off, so the automation trigger to go off. So that action I already have on the user table. It's this set automation trigger. So in here, I need to set that extra column that I put in there to, let me grab the name of the slice, to the slice that I made. Yeah, this guy. And I basically just need to index the ID out of that. So set this to index this. I don't remember what I called the report ID, report underscore ID. Makes sense, right? So grab the report ID out of that global variable that I just made. I haven't saved yet, that's why it doesn't validate. Set, so I'm setting the automation trigger to the actual trigger that I need, and then I'm setting the index to the report that has the thing I'm supposed to be sending, right? This way, each user record now has the individual bits of data that it needs in order to execute what it needs to do. The last thing I got to do to make this work is set up that user email chain so that it does what it needs to do. So if we go to automation now, we go to this send users thing. Yep. So when this is set to send email, yep, I need to send it to the user. So we go all the way down here to the attachment, right? This is what we got to do. We got to look up that attachment out of the global variable. This is the good thing about global variables. That record is being held inside that slice, which means you have access to every column and every piece of data that is on that table. What do I mean by that? I literally have all of these columns, and one of these columns is the actual file that I need to send. So technically, that file is inside that global variable, and all I got to do is pull it out. How do you do it? All right. Index, baby. Woo! Gotta love it. Back to our automation. Back to all the way down here at the bottom, all the way down here at the bottom. Back to this. So what do I need to do? I need to index. Do I still have it on my? Nope. I need to index that slice. So I'm going to copy the name of the slice. Okay, all the way back down to the bottom, all the way back down to the bottom. Oh, there we go. All right, I need to index, the slice, and then the thing that I want out of this. So if I just go to my column list on my report table, right? What do I want? I want the report file. 100%. Yeah, man. Give me the file out of that thing. That's how you do it. Just like that. And then when you triggered this off, so what would happen here? All right, so the order of operations would be, we'll go back here. The order of operations would be as so. So I go into the report, I come inside here and I say, all right, I want to send this report to these people. All right, now when I save this, go back here, this save report stack is going to kick off, right? So the first thing it does is it marks this report as the thing that we're processing. It holds it in that global variable. Then it goes through and it says, cool, for every user that I've selected inside this field, execute that action on the user table that says, grab this global variable, drop it into place, and then mark the auto trigger to go. And then there's a corresponding automation that's watching for that says, cool, when I get that, I'm going to send it off. And I'll just look up the thing that you've got over there. You know what I just thought about? Okay, hold up, pause. That won't work. Because at this point, this has already been moved out of that status. No, what I really need to do is I just need to do a hard lookup because I have the ID. That's why I put the ID there. So like look up this row dot form type, right? Look that up. It's the report ID. So I need to look it up in reports. You'll find this value in the ID. And I want the file. Whoop. That'll do it. That'll do it 100%. Do that. And then the last thing you need to do is you need to clear the triggers. You need to clear all of that temporary stuff that we put inside the user record to make sure that it's all clean and ready for the next person. So like automation trigger needs to be put to blank and the form type needs to be put back to blank too. That way it's ready to go. And you could do that before you send the report, and order of operations maybe doesn't matter at this point. At some things that you're doing, the order of operations does matter, but as long as you get the clearing of the triggers inside the chain at some point, you're good to go. But that's how that'll work. Yeah, mate. That is how you could either send individual emails, right? One for each person, or how can I send one mass email to everybody? Oh yeah, buddy. And the last thing that I'm going to go over in this little section right here, it's a long one, I know. I do appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with me. I really do appreciate it. The last thing that I'm going to go over on this one is some tips and tricks that I've kind of stumbled upon and come across for working with workflows. Because anybody that knows that's tried workflows, anybody with templates, specifically creating a PDF template, like how can I make a PDF file out of the thing that I'm working with? How can I make that file look nice? Like there's a lot of peculiarities with the Google Docs templates. That's what I'm going to specifically talk about today. There's little things that you can do that kind of make it easier to make all of that work. So let's get to it. The idea, right? So if I just go back to my automation and I go in and I go to my file and I open up my template for my file. Okay. So this is dirty, right? This is down and dirty. Doesn't look very good. Whatever. We can make it look better though, right? Okay. Some things to know about automation with making PDF files like this. I actually went through and I made a list here. So let's just go over that together. So margins are not supported. There's the ability to do custom margins if you're exporting to a PDF file, but like these templates can also be used to generate what your email should look like. Like, okay, margins and all of that stuff is not supported in there at all. Don't even bother trying to set those. If you're going to try and put a header at the top, it will show, but it only shows on the first page. Same thing for the footer. The footer only shows on the last page. They don't show up in the middle, which means page numbers don't work. So just don't even bother. It's not going to happen. The other things, so formatting types don't work. So like you can set something to like header 1 or paragraph or header 2 or, title or whatever. Those things largely don't work. Some of them do sometimes, some of them don't. Don't even bother. Go about things the manual route. Like literally just think like, it's 1992 and we just gotta, this is bold, this is underlined, this is text size 42, manual. That's how you gotta approach everything. Also, bullets and numbering don't work. So if you need something to have, 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got to type those in on individual lines, just so you know. Tables do work. You can do them. And the background color, the border size, like the actual line size, and the color does work. All of those things are supported. So you can make your tables look really nice. And I'll go over some of that here in a little bit. One of the things you're going to want to do is remove all extra padding and spacing that you have on your document. Every extra little bit that you've got, get rid of it. AppSheet adds like 1 or 2 pixels around everything when it's exporting. I'm specifically talking about taking my template and making a PDF. Like everything has like 1 or 2 extra pixels around them. That's around them. Everything does. Everything does. So everything grows a little bit, right? Shrinks. Like the size that's needed for your column space is a little bigger than what it normally is, right? Everything's that way. The margins on the side, they grow a little bit. The margins around my tables, they grow a little bit. If I have space between paragraphs, they grow a little bit. Everything gets just a little bit bigger when you go from your template to the actual PDF output. So when you're putting things together in your actual template, keep that in mind, and you're going to want to like smush everything together so it looks like crap, because when it actually comes out, it's going to look okay. Single space everything. That's what I was getting there. And like no paragraph spacings, like all of that extra spacing stuff, completely get rid of it. Now I have a standard workflow that I have that I kind of work through whenever I'm doing something like this. It's like, okay, we're starting a template. These are the things that I do at the very beginning. So like I'll come over here and I'll do like Control A to get everything on the page. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say single. I'm going to add a space before. I'm going to remove the space. I'm going to add the space after. I'm going to remove the space. The reason you do that is because some paragraphs have a space, some don't. And so you need to unify everything. So if you just add one to everything and then remove it, it's just you cross the board, washes it all away. Do that. So we have single, I've added and removed. That's all you do here. Then the next thing that I'll do is I'll go to File, I'll go to Page Setup, and I'll remove any of these margins that are there, and I'll put everything to 0, because that's essentially what the system is going to do. Okay, and now with your template like this, now you're basically at the point to where it's pretty close to what it's actually going to report, what it's actually going to produce on the output. But you got to think, it's going to add a boatload of space around all of this stuff. And so like, oops, what am I? Oh, nope. Do it that way. Yep. Zoom out. There we go. Where'd my mouse go? Oh my lord. Oh my word. Where'd my mouse go? For real, my pointer has disappeared. Holy crap. Oh my god, dude, for real. Oh, I can see it over there, but I can't see it on my main screen. Oh, this is so weird. Bring me my mouse back. It's this Zoom thing that I got going on. Yeah. It's not giving me my mouse back. Wow. Well, I think this live stream is probably going to end since I can't point. There we go. I had to turn the Zoom thing off. Y'all ever had any problems like that before? Wow, that was wild. Holy crap. Anyways, so yeah, this is basically what I do whenever I'm starting my templates, right? And like at this point now, I'm basically done, basically ready to go. and I'd start going through and doing, you know, adding all of my stuff. So like one of the things that is supported is like, I like to make my tables look nice. I found the following color scheme works really, really well. So if you select your whole top header and you go to the fill and fill it with this really light blue right here, that looks really, really good for a header. And then change your text from the hard black to the one just under it, right? So it's a little bit softer, right? Okay, now select your whole table and then go over here to the line color and make this the one, either the one above the yellow or the one above the blue, depending on how light you want your borders to be. I prefer the blue one, but I think you'll agree with me that this looks pretty good for a table. And then it's gonna like go all the way down doing all of the items. That's basically kind of how I start off with doing all of my workflow stuff, or sorry, doing all of my PDF template stuff here inside of a Google Doc. Those little things I do at the front where like you make it all single spaced and you get rid of the paragraphs and add the paragraphs, that's kind of a key thing to do. That's literally the first things I do every time. It's not and like anytime I get to somebody else's template and I'm starting to play with it, it's one of the first things I do is it's like, all right, Control A, single space, do this, do that. All right, this is what it's really looking like now. Otherwise, like everything's just massively grows on the page. You know what I mean? All right, that's basically all I really wanted to talk about on this report table, the report builder stuff. Is I just wanted to go over the questions that these people had about how can I send the email. That was really kind of the important one that I wanted to get out. Yeah, that's really kind of all I got. I really do appreciate y'all sticking around. I see there's some questions inside the comment section, so let's move on to that. Or not. How about... Hey, it did do it right this time. Hey, there we go. So, thanks for sticking around, y'all. I really do appreciate it. It looks like there's been a lot of people that have been sticking around this whole time. Y'all heroes, man. Let's see. So, the first one is from... Oh man, you must be from Africa. I'm not gonna try and pronounce your name. I'm Adi, I think is how I'll say your name. Adiomi. Are you still here, Adiomi? Am I saying it right? Is it wrong? It's probably wrong. Anyways, he's asking, please, how much is the enterprise plan? Because I need my app to work on databases. That information seems hard to get. I would really like to know. Yeah, so enterprise plan, generally speaking, the way that they do that is you have to have 20 licenses in order. You just can't buy it yourself. You've got to contact sales and you've got to go through a salesperson. So there's that. It's generally $20 a user and you have to have 20 users. So it's $400 a month, rough, $5,000 a year. But I'll tell you this. So you're not just getting the ability to use databases with your app when you do that. Yeah, that's a thing that you do get. And I'll tell you this, the people that built AppSheet came from Microsoft SQL Server stuff. Like the original root code that was put down and all this anecdotal, I don't know 100%, right? This is just what I've been told. But like all of that came from people who worked on the Microsoft SQL Server division. So everything that's in all the AppSheet integration in the back end with the SQL servers is like made by the people who were making how all of that stuff works. So it's all of the efficiencies you could ever imagine. Like they know all the shortcuts and they did all the stuff. I had a client where when we switched over from regular to a database like that, no, it was night and day. Just that. Just by switching from like a Google Sheets to the SQL Server, right? The Google Sheet API that AppSheet uses in order to communicate with Sheets. I'm not sure if that's how they do it now because they're a part of it. Maybe it's some more internal stuff. It's probably not. It's probably still the API. Like it only communicates so fast. Like it can only so much, right? Whereas with your SQL Server, it's got all kinds of stuff that you can add into it. It's got all kinds of efficiencies and indexes and whatever. I don't even know any of this stuff. Like, yeah. So you get that. Okay. But you also get, like, the biggest thing that you get is an increase in your degree of parallelism. So what that is like when your app is syncing, when it's going through all of its computations, like that, you can think about it like your app is basically operating kind of like a server does. It, instead of just having one path of computation, depending on your license, you have multiple paths. So the starter license has 2 paths. So there's like 2 data chains that are running in parallel, computing all of your stuff in order to get to the end faster, right? If you have this, if you have the core license, you have a degree of parallelism of 4. So you've got 4 paths of data processing that's going on. Okay, switch over to enterprise. 10. You got 10 paths of data processing. Mate, you combine that with operating on a SQL server. I've seen apps that went from 30, 45, 60 seconds for an average sync time to like 10, 12, 15, sometimes 8. Sometimes it's unbelievably fast. So if you're planning on doing something, a lot of people, you know, if you need to scale your system, that's definitely the way to go. Yeah, it's a lot up front, sure. Totally worth it though. Totally worth it. Moving on to the next one is from... Sorry, man. I'm not even going to try it. Travetti. I hope you're still here, Travetti. He says, how to display a change log of each column and record the previous value and changed value. I know it's possible by row before function, but it works for a particular column. Yeah, okay. All right. So the standard starting template that I put out, right, has one of the updates that I did. I'm getting back to it. One of the updates that I put out is the fact that you can have a column in there that I call, here it is. I'm getting to it. I gotta find it. I already hid it away. There we go. All right. So one of the columns in the standard starting template is this thing that I'm calling automation tracking. And the way that it works, right, is it has a reset on edit formula that's watching a particular column. This particular one has the trigger of is not blank the column that I'm watching. And then the initial value for this column is, it's an enum list column. So I'm creating a list, right? And so the formula is take whatever's here. So the original formula, the original column name in square brackets, and add to it the list of whatever the value is that's inside the column that I'm watching. And when you do this, that gives you the ability to where it's like, it drops the original value and then it adds the next value and it adds the next value and it adds the next value. And it just keeps adding to that list indefinitely. And then like the ending result that you get is something like this, where like this is the individual, but then after a while you get something like this, where I've got whatever the trigger word was, and like I made like all of this is something that I made. I put all of that together in a concatenate that I wanted to see. So like you can make that string whatever you want it to be, right? And so then the idea is whenever that value changes, this one changes. And that's where you could use this row before, this row after in the reset on edit. That works. Where like if this value is not what it was before, do that initial value where it says take whatever's here in this column and add to it whatever the new thing is, whatever they're doing over there. Pretty close to the same thing, yeah, for the setup for that automation trigger, yeah. I'll tell you what, man, that reset on edit thing, you can do some unbelievably clever things with that. Like the more I keep playing with it, the more I keep finding ulterior ways to use it. Like I tried to find, I couldn't find it. I'm going to keep looking for it, but I have an implementation in an app that I made somewhere where it looks like it's a circular thing. Like the reset on edit is looking at is looking at the value inside the column it's supposed to be watching, and then doing stuff based on what the value is, and like they feed into each other in what seems like it should be a circular problem, but it doesn't. It works. Like when I was putting this in there, I was like, oh, I need to go find that thing that I made. And like I looked through like almost every app I have, and there's just a few that I haven't because they're huge and I don't know where to look. So hopefully eventually I'll find it. But yeah, let's see. You got one last question here from David. He says, hi Matt, do you have any examples of an app similar to a CRM to consult or recommend? Sure do. Something to save activities, appointments, customer negotiations, etc. Sure do. If you are a Patreon supporter of mine, you have access to TT IOTA. TT IOTA is really kind of the first version of like that idea of, oh, I'm going to have different versions of the app so that you can look at it over time and see how things have changed. Do you know what I mean? This was the first thing that I did. Let me get back here. There we go. This was the first iteration of that. So if I look for IOTA, yeah, so I've had two versions of this. So what is IOTA? TT IOTA is, it is the, all right, when I first started doing what I do, right? Consulting for people for building apps and whatever, like I immediately realized, well, I have to have a way of keeping track of my projects, who I'm working for, what hours I'm logging, like what's been paid or not. Like I need a whole thing for that. So I started building a system. Why not, right? What better way to learn AppSheet than to do something that you need to track all of that? And that was in 2015. This TT IOTA is the evolution of that. It started with TT Alpha. TT stands for time tracker, right? So it started with time tracker Alpha. I'm now on IOTA, going through the Greek alphabet. Skipped a few letters in the middle. But yeah, Alpha, Beta, right? I'm now on IOTA. And I'm probably going to leave it on IOTA because it's a pretty cool name. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to track every iota of time. Booyah. It's a time tracker. It's got a lot. Invoicing, customer, do I have it? Like, oh yeah. So if I just show like here, right? So like it's a CRM, it's got project management, it's got time tracking, it's got invoicing, all in one. The idea is like it does a little bit of everything that you need. Like it literally is what I use for my business. The idea is I've given you a way to where you can enter in, these are the tasks that we do. And then you can do like client, project. The projects have various phases inside them. The phases can have milestones, right? And then attached to all of these are time logs. And then, so I start collecting time logs. The time logs are populated by the list of tasks that I said people can do. And you can enter in various different categories. So like one client, we could be doing this. The other client, we could be doing that. For this project, we're doing this. For this project, we're doing these. And I can have different tasks assigned for each of the different categories that I want to use. So the idea then is, right, the project has a specific type that's assigned to it. And so that then pulls in, these are all the tasks that are generally assigned to this thing that we need to do. So when the user's creating their time log, it just dumps them into a form really quick with all of those things available as buttons. And I'm a two-click kind of guy. I want unbelievable amounts of data, but I don't want to have to go click, 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 type, 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 click, 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 click to get it. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's all I'm saying. So like, the thing you got to do is if you know the chain that you're going to follow, if you know where you're going, then you can automate all of that. Like I can create actions to set these values. I can create formulas to do this. I can create an automation that's watching for whatever that does what it's supposed to do. Like I can all of that. And I can get to a point to where I'm clocking in. This is what I'm doing. 2 clicks. I'm clocking in. This is what I'm doing. Here's some notes about what I'm doing. Done. 4 clicks. But with this sort of setup, you're able to capture time to the second. Like, this is what I'm doing. Now I'm moving on to this task. Now I'm moving on to this task. Because the actual data entry for your user, right, is unbelievably simple. They've got their little app open. They push the button that says I'm changing tasks. They click the task that they're doing. Done. If I want to add notes, I can click a different button. Click the notes, click that I'm doing something, what task I'm doing, add some notes, hit save. Done. Takes me 5-10 seconds in the middle of what I'm doing to capture that. But when I'm done, now I've got time logs by the second that I can then crunch through and do all kinds of data analysis. What's the smallest? What's the largest? What's the standard deviation? So from those, I can then get what's probably the average, adding in a little standard deviation here or there based on some complexity, right? What should this projected time be, or what should the cost be for this thing? And then you can take all of that time log stuff and throw it into a line item for an invoice. So I can say, cool, for this project, I need a new invoice, and I want to invoice these things based on the date. And so then it's like, cool, for date number 1, it grabs all of the the time logs that are associated to that date. And I can add in some notes. Date number 2 grabs all the time logs for that, pulls it in here, and then you can just cycle through that and make your file, and there you go. All the time logs are now associated to the line item that they're for. Print the file. It's got a paypal.me link that you can generate. If you have paypal.me, it's right there. Someone can click on it and pay you. Yeah, I've been doing this. This is how I do all my stuff. This is how I do it. You ask, why 2 versions? So IOTA was the start of this evolution series idea that I had for apps. And like the idea was, I want to be able to show you like, this is what it was and this is what it turned into. And then like, so I only did it with 2, but I had plans on doing more versions of that to show you the evolution, right? That way, the difference between the 2, if you look at the Patreon posts themselves, they outline what the specifics are between them. But the one is like the start. The other one, beta 2, is it now includes multi-company functionality. So the first version, beta 1, the green one, that one's for like a single company. Like there's no other companies that are using it. It's just me and maybe a couple other users, but we're all working from the same thing. Beta 2 is the same. It's the same app, but now it's upgraded to allow you to select, to have multiple companies using the app. Everybody's all security filtered away so that they can't, other people don't see the data that they're not supposed to see through security filters. And it's not really a trivial thing in order to implement something like that, and the consequences are severe in some cases, not really, but you know what I mean? Like you don't want somebody not seeing what they're not supposed to see, right? So you got to make sure that you do it right and make sure you get all the right bits in the right place, doing things in the right order. So I took that first one and I made a video on how I upgraded it, and then I saved that one. And so that's beta 2. So you can follow the exact path that I followed to turn beta 1 into beta 2 through watching the video of how to implement multi-company security filters. That's the idea. And that's what really started that was what started it. And then like the shopping cart sample app came about, and I was like, yeah, I should do that with this. And now I'm going to do that with a bunch of things. So that circles right back around to the thing I was saying before. I'm going to continue to evolve the enhanced dashboard sample app and the report table sample apps. The report table has already kind of got a couple of upgrades. I'm going to make some official videos that talk about how to do it. But specifically how to send those emails out to people, right? Like what I'll do is in the video that I make, I'll put an option for people to select how do you want to send this off? Do you want to send one mass email or one to everybody, right? I'll give you that option and put both of them in the system so that people can see, this is how I do it that way, this is how I do it this way. All right. So that's part 2 that I already have planned, that I kind of did today already, really, for the report table. You let me know what else you want to see for the evolution of that report. Same thing for the enhanced dashboard. The ones that I have for that so far, I have a list here for this. So part 2 for the enhanced dashboard is going to be more filters. Like, okay, what if I have different tables, right? What if I've got one table that's this, I've got another table that's this, and I got another, right? How can I do a whole bunch of different stuff? So that's going to be part 2 of the enhanced dashboard. Part 3 is going to be how can I download with a CSV? So like, how could I put actions on my dashboard so that I can get that specific table or that specific, whatever I'm seeing there, how can I get those values? Also, how can I send, and then part 4 is going to be how can I send like what I have in my dashboard, how can I send that to a report table? And like at that point, kind of merge both of those sample apps into one. So I'm curious to see what else people would like to see done with the dashboard and the report thing. That's all I got, guys. Wow, this is hour and 40 minutes, and like, you guys are diehard fans. You guys are diehard. I love it, man. Y'all are great. I love my fans. You guys rock. That's it, man. Yeah, check out that stuff at AppSheet Insider. I've been doing a lot of really good stuff over there. Obviously, let me know if you have any questions on anything. If you come across anything new that you think is newsworthy and you want to get that inside the weekly rundown, there's a link down below for a Google form. Fill it out with your story. All right, everybody, that's it. That's all I got. I do appreciate y'all sticking around. See you in the community. Problems. Technical difficulties. Oh, nope. See, even my technical difficulties has having technical difficulties. All right, y'all. I'm out.